Are you going to do the sign off, or is that me?
And cut. Okay.
Welcome to episode 4 of Ben and Ken Like Records. This episode's theme is Wanderlust. Ben, what have you brought along to talk about today?
Okay, I have bought Bjork Vulnicura.
That's wild.
It's a wild cover.
Yeah. I kind of stopped listening to Bjork after actually Selma Songs was the last album. No, or Vespertine, around that era is where I sort of stopped listening to Bjork. But that just looks intense. Please tell me how this fits Wanderlust and what you like about it.
So I only own 2 Bjork albums on vinyl, but generally across the board, I feel that Bjork is an artist that embodies the theme of Wanderlust. And she actually has a song on her album Volta called Wanderlust. And if you're able to check out the video clip for that, which we'll put in the links, it is an amazing video. So I feel when I listen to her music, the sound, the artistic direction around her look and her artwork is very much a catalyst for me to go on a journey and also go to the places that Bjork evokes with the soundscapes that she produces.
Oh, wow. So when was this album released?
Yeah, this album was released in 2015. So it's quite recent. She has, to date released 9 albums. So I would say she's prolific. It came out on the One Little Indian record label, which since rebranded to One Little Independent in 2020, in lieu of the conversation around, Black Lives Matter, but also appropriation of different cultures, and just as a way of kind of signaling that they were wanting to change the dialogue and change their conversation and be part of the conversation around the way we appropriate different cultures for the benefit of, Western culture. So I thought that was pretty ballsy, and that, that follows on from the label itself. They're pretty edgy. How much do you know about Bjork as an artist, Ken?
I know little bits. Like I liked her. I'm not going to say. I know she was in a band, the Sugar Cubes, which I never really listened to.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those early albums, like the one with the hyper ballad.
Oh yeah, so Homogenic.
Homogenic and Post.
Yeah.
Those 2 albums are probably the 2 that I'm most familiar with.
Great.
And I do really like those albums. I do know that she's married to Matthew Barney, isn't she? She's still married to Matthew.
So this is the backstory about the album. So this essentially is a breakup album. So it came in the wake of breaking up with Matthew Barney. And so Matthew Barney, I know you know a lot about him, Ken, as we're both kind of into art. He creates monumental art pieces. They're a mix of installation, video. They're quite out there, and they take a lot of money to produce these pieces of artwork. So the big one that I kind of tapped into was the Cremaster series, which relates to the little function in the testicles that lowers them and makes them rise and fall. That's the kind of the language that Matthew Barney speaks in, and his characters are also otherworldly, which fits in with Bjork. Am I making sense? Is this what you know about Matthew Barney?
Yeah, they're pretty. It fits into the your postmodern category of art. That's hard to pin down as painting or sculpture or installation or digital, or is it storytelling? He creates artworks that are very difficult to encapsulate as a genre sort of thing.
So Ken, what did you bring along today that embodies the theme
Well,
Wanderlust?
it turns out that I've actually brought maybe the complete opposite of your selection.
Love it.
Um, it's an album that has been talked about. I don't think there's many albums that have been talked about more, and it's Rubber Soul by the Beatles. The reason I chose this for Wanderlust, it has a very particular story. Um, this is a Swedish pressing of this album. It's a 1965 album, and this is a 1965 release of it. I bought this in Norway when I was on my honeymoon. I had this idea that I would buy records from different countries when I was on my honeymoon in Scandinavia. And I bought this one. I searched for this one specifically because it features the track Norwegian Wood. And I thought that would be a fun thing to buy Norwegian Wood in Norway. I really love this one because it's still got the sales stickers from 1965. It cost 45 crown at the time. And it's got its nice little sale sticker. It was in a bundle sale. Yeah, it's such a great album. Such a great album. I think it's maybe one of the best Beatles albums there is. This is gonna, choosing the best Beatles album winds people up. But this is a great album.
What are the vital signs? Or
so
vital,
it was,
vital stats rather.
It's 1965. It's on the Parlophone label. And it was produced by George Martin. So
Sir George Martin.
Yes. It is essentially just on the surface, it's a pop album. But the surface doesn't last very long when you listen to it. I think it's got some hidden meanings in it. And I think that's why people really love the Beatles too, is that there is lots of layers of meaning. And this particular album is when the Beatles got full control in the studio. So previous to this album, this tap's running here, hang on. It's really noisy.
I don't think I can hear it.
Okay. Someone's in a shower upstairs.
Okay. It happens.
Yeah. So this is the first time they had complete control in the studio. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted at this point. Before this, they were told, the order of songs, what to record, what the cover would look like. And it was this album where they had complete control. So I would say this is the first album that's that artistic direction and the artistic vision of the Beatles. This is the first album where it's really seen in full.
I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me.
So Ken, what are your standout tracks on the album?
Well, there's a couple of really famous songs on here, like Norwegian Wood. My favorite Beatles song ever is on this album, and it's In My Life.
Oh,
I think it's
timeless.
It's such a beautiful song, yeah. And the recording of it is just, it's very sweet, and it is just a lovely pop song. I tend to talk about lovely pop songs a fair bit. But I'm Looking Through You, I like as well.
Nice.
Yeah. And they lead to that. So the hidden meaning stuff I find really, really interesting. And I think on this album, it was sort of, I know you talked about transcendental stuff when you talked about the Beach Boys, and this came out around the same time as Friends. So I think this album's full of, I would call it subliminal messaging. It's not like you play the album backwards and you hear
it's not backmasking.
Yeah, this is more, the lyrics of the songs really talk about the Beatles' interest in Eastern philosophy and reincarnation and living on a higher plane of existence. I think even the title, Rubber Soul, the idea that your soul bounces along. I think that's part of it as well. So in a lot of songs, and I'm going to just check a note on this, make sure, the song Nowhere Man,
Mm-hmm.
it really feels like they're urging people to expand their minds. They talk about, the man that's nowhere, has nothing, and they're talking about people in everyday life just living an unaware life.
Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing.
This album, Vulnicura, and actually the album name means cure for wounds in Latin. So it essentially is a breakup album, and it is, and we've talked about this in previous episodes about the importance of listening to albums in a chronological order. Bjork actually has the tracks in chronological order relating to the breakup. So in the sleeve note, she actually has, the song, and then she has the month, how many months after. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's a really quite intense album, but it's not as abstract as her past albums. And there is a 10-minute track on the album called Black Lake, which people have, called the 10-minute Matthew Barney diss track. Diss tracks being from hip hop, where, different artists would, spin rhymes and drop rhymes to diss their rivals. Well, Björk has a 10-minute track that basically lists almost like a litany of Matthew Barney's sins and why he, contributed to the breakdown of this relationship, which is intense. Like, it's intense, but it's not abstract. It's very clear what she's talking about. And I think this album is very clear in the progression, what is happening.
Tell me about, like you hinted at it before, so tell me about the design.
As I said before, the album came out digitally before physical releases. And so this vinyl came like maybe almost 6 months to a year after, because apparently, and I'm not sure if this was just a marketing ploy, there was a leak. So she rushed to release it on digital. Yeah. And so I also, referring to this Pitchfork link, it then allowed the release of the album not to have all these tie-ins, which Björk is known for. She will have like a gallery show. She will have like, 3 or 4 different versions, a box set, I was checking out Discogs, and there's a few of her releases of an album, which I can't remember at this point in time, but they sit very highly in the, most expensive things reselling, because they're just really elaborate box sets. So this one allowed it to, and I think it's nice in the way that it was more organic. She released it, people listened to it, and then came the, beautiful packaging, which I'm going to talk about now. So this comes actually in a sleeve.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so the sleeve is by Andrew Huang, who often collaborates on her digital CGI work. And the reason why I've taken it off is it's actually really quite difficult to take off the album. So this is what you get when the sleeve has been taken off. And as you can see, as Björk is known for, amazing kind of couture sculptural stuff she's wearing. So the portraits are by Inez van Lenswede, and I'm butchering the pronunciation of that name, I know. And also there's a portrait by Vinud Matadin, and again, I apologize profusely. And then the slipcases by Andrew Huang. So it has 2 albums. And then she also has collaborated with French typographers. So she has a very distinct typographic lens that she likes to see her work in. And that's done by longtime collaborators, M. Paris. And they do this kind of beautiful, organic, linear fluid typography that you often see. And then you've got a close-up of her again. This is actually, I'm pretty sure she wore this on her tours. That's like a headpiece. It's not digital. So very fine. She loves things that look quite organic. It almost looks like one of those flowers that have all the fuzzy bits and you blow them. Dandelion. yes. The dandelion. And then it almost looks embroidered too. So there's something a little bit homely, a bit familial about that, which, I'm sure was very specific. The sleeve has a beautiful kind of stock to it. And then the album titles are in that embroidered typography by MM Paris. And yeah, beautiful artwork. How about yours? Interested to see what your sleeve art is.
It's almost the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Almost the exact opposite. So it's, your typical 1960s release. So it's just no gatefold. It's exactly how it is. You would imagine this photo was taken very quickly. Maybe even like the idea is maybe like a precursor to the Abbey Road cover, which apparently took 6 minutes to create. And the images on the back, the exact opposite to what you've got. Yeah. I love George Harrison in his cowboy outfit.
Yeah, because that's how I imagine him.
It's just fantastic. I think that's great. And Paul with a big durry hanging out of his mouth. It could be questionable what's actually in that.
That's right. It's not.
But what I actually really, really like this. I think this is missing from quite a lot of records these days. There's advertising on the back of this.
Yeah.
Down the bottom here, use new Ematex record cleaner.
Just a bit of a subtle ad.
And it says it's available from record dealers. Another feature that I like about this is the track listings. They talk about it has the songwriter for each track. Generally it's a Lennon-McCartney album, but it does include What Goes On, which is Lennon-McCartney's Starkey. So that's Ringo.
Yep.
He didn't write that many songs. So
hang on, Ringo Starr's surname was Starkey?
Yeah, his name's Richard Starkey.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not a big enough Beatles fan to know that. So, wow.
I actually think, you ready for a hot take?
Yeah.
Ringo might be the coolest Beatle. That's it. I think he might be. Yeah, and if there's extra instrumentation, it has it listed. So if it's anything beyond their normal setup, they have the musician listed here. Like it'll say Norwegian Wood, George on sitar. Oh
wow, yes.
Which I forgot to mention before, part of the reincarnation type idea. There's old instrumentation on a few of the tracks. So the sitar comes up in Norwegian Wood. There's a bouzouki in one of them.
Is a bouzouki like a
Greek,
West Asian or a Russian instrument? Where's that from?
I think it's a Greek one.
Okay, there you go.
The bouzouki's on Girl.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great song.
It is.
Yeah.
And In My Life has that harpsichord refrain in it.
Beautiful.
So I think.
Oh yes. Yeah. Mm.
So to me, it really feels like that reincarnation idea. We're going to take old instrumentation, put it into new songs. Everything's going to become new again. Don't worry about things. Love the world. The opposite to what Bjork's saying. She's wounded and hurt. And the Beatles are just saying, I love everyone. Is there anything else about your album that you think is interesting or noteworthy that you want to mention?
I suppose it's more general, but Iceland. What is in the water there that there has been so many brilliant musicians and artists that have come out of Iceland? So, without going too deep into that thought, one of my places on my bucket list is to go to Iceland. So if we're taking the Wanderlust theme literally, I definitely want to go there. I want to see what they see and maybe even just get a glimpse of being inspired to create from, that landscape, because, Sigur Rós, Bjork, Oliver Arnolds, there's so many amazing musicians from such a small place. There's got to be some magic happening, some fairy dust, some pixies.
Something in the water. Yeah.
Something in the water. How about you? Is there any
Get there and drink it.
Yeah. Is there any
I don't think there's anything I could say about this album that hasn't been said.
Yeah.
It's such an iconic album. It's such an iconic piece of music. I don't think there's I think it's maybe one of the most written about pieces of music or collections of music that there's ever been. So I don't think I'm going to bring anything new to the table apart from everyone should have a copy of this and listen to it carefully. That's it, really.
I'm going to put mine on. So thank you for the inspiration to revisit it. And I learned a lot of things from that conversation. Thank you.
No worries. Can I just pause you just for a second?
Yeah.
There's a fridge that's just turned on.
Okay. You've been watching episode 4 of Ben and Ken Like Records, the theme being Wanderlust. If you liked what you saw, please like and follow our channel so that you can get updated on when our next episode drops. See you next time.